My sisters and brothers, imagine for a moment the life you live right now. You wake up in the morning and without even thinking, you open your eyes, you breathe, you stretch your arms, you take those first steps to start your day. You have food in your kitchen, clothes in your wardrobe, maybe a bed to sleep on and a roof over your head. You see the faces of your loved ones, you hear their voices, you feel their touch. These are blessings so constant, so familiar, that we hardly ever pause to appreciate them. We assume they'll always be there, as if they belong to us by default. But the truth is, every single one of them is a gift from Allah, and in an instant, any one of them could be taken away. We live our lives running after the things we don't have, comparing ourselves to others, complaining about what is missing. But if we just took a moment to step back and count what we already have, we would realize we are drowning in blessings. The air you breathe without paying a penny, the heartbeat that works tirelessly inside you without your command, the ability to eat without pain, to walk without assistance, to speak and be understood. These are miracles. We say Alhamdulillah, almost as a reflex, but how often do we truly mean it from the depths of our hearts? There are people right now lying in hospital beds who would give everything they own just to be able to do what you did this morning without thinking. There are people who can't see the sunlight you take for granted. People who can't taste the food you eat without a second thought. People who cry at night wishing they could simply get out of bed and walk. Yet here we are, living each day as if these gifts are guaranteed, forgetting that the one who gave them can take them whenever he wills. When you think about it, it's not the grand luxuries that truly define a blessed life. It's the small, everyday mercies. The smile of a child, the comfort of a warm drink on a cold day, the sound of rain, the embrace of someone who loves you, the safety of your home. These are the blessings that make life beautiful, yet we only seem to notice their value when they are gone. That's the tragedy of human nature. We often wait for loss before we learn gratitude. There comes a moment in some people's lives when everything changes in an instant. One day they are surrounded by comfort, health, and loved ones, and the next, it feels like the world has been turned upside down. The job they relied on disappears, the health they enjoyed weakens, the people they cherished are no longer there. What was once a life full of ease and security suddenly feels empty and uncertain. This is the moment when the reality of life's fragility hits hard. When you realize that nothing in this world is truly yours to keep forever. When everything is taken away, the heart feels a weight it has never felt before. The silence in the house becomes louder, the spaces that once held laughter now echo with loneliness, and the body that once moved with strength struggles to even carry itself. In those moments, it's easy to feel abandoned, to question why such a test has come, to wonder if life will ever return to what it was. But what we often fail to see is that sometimes Allah allows everything to be stripped away so that we are left with nothing but Him. These moments of loss are not meant to destroy us, but to wake us up. When the walls we've built around our lives crumble, we are forced to face the truth that our dependence should never have been on the walls in the first place. It should have been on the one who built the foundation. The money, the status, the relationships, the health, none of it is guaranteed. And sometimes in His wisdom, Allah takes them away to remind us that these were never the source of our security. For the believer, this is the turning point. It's the moment where faith is truly tested. Not when life is smooth, but when it's shattered. It's in the emptiness that the heart finally starts to fill with the remembrance of Allah. Tears are shed not just from pain, but from the realization that all along we were leaning on things that could vanish in a heartbeat. And now, in this moment, we are learning to lean on the one who never leaves. The world may see a person as broken, but in reality, they may be closer to Allah than ever before. Because when everything is taken away, what's left is the truth. Our possessions were temporary, our lives are temporary, and our return is only to Him. And when you reach that understanding, you realize that even in loss, there is a blessing, because you've been brought back to the one who is worth losing everything else for. Patience is one of the most beautiful yet most difficult qualities a person can have, especially when life feels like it's collapsing around them. In the darkest days when nothing seems to be going right and every door appears closed, patience becomes the rope that keeps a believer connected to hope. It is not simply the act of waiting. It is the act of trusting Allah while you wait. It is holding your heart steady when everything inside you is screaming to give up. There are times when the pain is so deep that each day feels heavier than the last. You wake up, but the sadness wakes up with you. Try to smile, but your eyes carry the weight of unspoken tears. People around you might not understand what you're going through, but Allah knows. He sees the battle you're fighting in silence, the dua you whisper in the middle of the night, the moments you choose to stay firm when you could have broken down completely. Patience in hardship is not about pretending the pain doesn't exist. It's about acknowledging it, feeling it, and still saying, "Inshallah, I trust your plan." It's reminding yourself that no test comes without purpose and no trial lasts forever. Every hardship has an expiry date and every storm eventually runs out of rain. The challenge is to remain steadfast until that day comes. In those moments, Shaitan will try to whisper doubts into your heart, telling you that Allah has abandoned you, that your prayers aren't being heard, that nothing will change. But that is exactly when you must fight harder to hold on. Remember that the prophets themselves faced unimaginable trials, loss, betrayal, illness, loneliness, and they endured with patience because they knew the one who decreed the hardship would also decree the relief. And perhaps years from now, you will look back and realize that the pain you endured shaped you into someone stronger, wiser, and closer to Allah. You will see that every tear you cried in silence was seen by Him, every sleepless night was counted, and every moment you remained patient was written as a good deed in your record. Until then, hold on to your rope of faith, even if it's just a thread, because the one you are holding on to will never let you fall. There are moments in life when a single dua, uttered from the depths of the heart, can change everything. It's not about the length of the words or the beauty of the language. It's about the sincerity behind them. Sometimes we make dua casually, almost as a routine, but in times of true desperation, when the tears fall and the voice trembles, the heart speaks in a way that only Allah understands. That is when dua becomes a lifeline, the bridge between our helplessness and His infinite mercy. When everything feels lost, a believer turns to dua not because it's the last option, but because it's the only true option. People can comfort you, but they cannot fix what is broken inside you. They can offer advice, but they cannot change your destiny. Only Allah can do that. And when you raise your hands to the sky, you're not just asking for a solution. You're surrendering, admitting that you are powerless without Him. That surrender is what opens the door to miracles. The power of a single dua is something we often underestimate. There have been people who prayed for years, thinking their voice was lost in the vastness of the universe, only to have their prayer answered in the most unexpected and beautiful way. Sometimes Allah answers immediately, sometimes He delays, and sometimes He gives you something far better than what you asked for. Every response is a mercy, even when it's not what you envisioned. In those quiet, private moments of dua, something else happens too. Your connection with Allah grows stronger. You begin to realize that dua isn't just about asking for things. It's about building a relationship with the one who listens without interruption, without judgment, and without ever tiring of your voice. Each time you pour your heart out to Him, you are polishing your soul, softening your heart, and reminding yourself that your life is entirely in His hands. So never underestimate the moment when you raise your hands and whisper, "Ya Allah." That moment could be the very turning point in your life, the seed from which a blessing grows, the reason you see light after a long tunnel of darkness. And sometimes when the answer finally comes, you will look back and realize it was that one sincere dua that changed the entire course of your story. When Allah finally sends relief after a long period of hardship, it often arrives in ways you could never have imagined. Sometimes it's a sudden change, like a door opening that you didn't even know existed. Other times it's gradual, like the slow but certain return of warmth after a bitter winter. This is the mercy of Allah. He knows exactly when to lift your burden, how to mend your heart, and what form the blessing should take so it benefits you most. After enduring long nights of sadness, even the smallest change feels like a gift. The health you regain after illness feels sweeter than it did before. The reunion with a loved one feels warmer, more precious. The moment you finally see a way out of your difficulties, you realize how much you've grown because of them. It's in those moments that you understand the beauty of Allah's timing. He never delays out of neglect, but out of wisdom, so that when relief comes at the perfect time. The mercy after the storm is not just about getting back what you lost. It's often about gaining more than you had before. Maybe you went through pain so you could develop a strength you didn't know you had. Maybe you faced loss so you could finally appreciate what remains. Maybe you were made to walk through darkness so that when you saw the light again, you would never take it for granted. Allah's mercy is not limited to replacing what was taken. Sometimes He replaces it with something far greater. In those moments of relief, the believer's heart overflows with gratitude. You remember the days when you cried alone, when the weight seemed unbearable, and now you see how Allah carried you through it all. You see how every delay, every closed door, every unanswered prayer was actually part of a bigger plan. And in that realization, your faith deepens because you know that the one who brought you through this can bring you through anything. And so when the calm finally arrives, don't just celebrate the end of your hardship, celebrate the one who guided you through it. Because the true beauty of Allah's mercy after the storm is not just that He removes your pain, but that He replaces it with something far more precious. Peace in the heart, clarity in the mind, and unshakable trust in Him that will stay with you for the rest of your life. There is a kind of gratitude that only comes after you have walked through pain. It is deeper, more sincere, and it carries a sweetness that cannot be described in words. These are the tears of gratitude. The tears that fall when you remember where you were, what you went through, and how Allah carried you to where you are now.